All right, guys, we're live. 2 minutes late. Thanks for being patient. 3 minutes late. Time just changed, but we are live on a Monday night, which is odd. It's been a long time since I've been live on a Monday night. Can everybody hear me loud and clear out there? Is everything set up correctly? I don't know. It's been so long. And normally, I am not the captain of the ship. That's been Dustin as of late, as all my live streams have been on off centered. But the Monday night live stream, I started Monday night live streaming a long time ago. That was my thing. I was the Monday night live stream. So here we are back to kind of touch base. Also, we have a guest tonight, a friend of the channel, a friend of the community, and we're going to talk about the fantasy football draft, the content creator draft, which is coming up. The actual draft will be tomorrow night, but the fantasy football league, sorry, I think I was saying draft, but the fantasy football league that is going to pay for someone to go to the national. This is all a charity league from multiple content creators, which I do have one of the participants is backstage. Will come out, someone who's knowledgeable in football. Lots of you guys say he's the most knowledgeable in football around. We'll see about that. But anyway, it'll be fun. It'll be good catching up with him. It'll be fun catching up with you guys. It'll be fun drawing our draft positions tonight for tomorrow's draft. And you guys are basically going to dictate what we talk about. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Dakota right now, Sports Cards Anonymous. Here he is.
What's up? It's a very generous intro. Friend of the channel,
I know, right?
Friend of the hobby.
Hey, man, and I'm just going to bring you on. We don't have bullet points or talking points and notes and stuff. We're just going to wing it here, because we can have organic, spontaneous conversation. We have a lot of the same interests and things like that: cards, hobby, football, fantasy football, which is going to be really the focus of tonight. In fact, I've already queued myself up for a mock draft here on my phone, just so I can mess around while we're talking. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about our strategies and stuff for tomorrow night, or the way that we think about the draft. But and we're not trying to steal any ideas or anything. This is all going to be for fun. It is as it is. Nobody wins anything here other than bragging rights, which bragging rights for this might be more important than actually winning money. I don't know. It's going to be pretty prestigious somewhat. At least whoever wins this will be able to talk about it all year, right? But yeah, it's going to be fun. I would like to say that I put up a YouTube poll before I left work tonight. So this poll has been live maybe 2 hours max. 2 hours. This poll has been live. It says, which content creator are you cheering for to win the Charity Fantasy Football League? Comment below if you do not see your favorite in the poll. The poll only allows me to put 5 names up there. So if you guys haven't voted in the chat, go over and vote. Number 1, it says Champion Steve. Number 2, One Win Neo. Number 3, Michael Ham Can't Fish. Number 4, Gold Dustin. And then number 5, Anonymously Retired. So right now, and I'm the guy who's put together the league. I'm the guy who put up the poll. So you would figure it would be my viewers for the most part. 40 votes so far, and you're winning.
Hey.
And you're winning. I'm heartbroken. You would think that if the poll is on my channel and a majority of the people voting are my viewers, I guess we have shared viewership. But
yeah,
guys, if it's my poll, how can you not vote for me out there?
Well,
I don't know.
Chad, I appreciate that. That's very heartwarming. Thank you all so much for the support. I don't know that I deserve it, but I do appreciate it. That's for sure.
I am a close
the
second.
Fat guys, Swamp Donkey.
I am a close second. You're 30%, and I'm at 25%. And then Ham and Neo both got 20%, and Dustin coming in at 5%. And one of his and one of his votes was his own.
Dustin's votes are from himself and his sponsors, I think.
One of them is probably from himself, and then he might have got his wife to log in and vote for him. Because he commented, he was like, he voted for himself, and he put him to 3%. Now he's at 5%. So he got another vote from somebody. But anyway. Brendan Ryan down here in the chat, I'm going Brandon Ryan does great avatars and artwork and stuff like that. I posted the Gold Dust one today in our Instagram chat. Gold Dustin. So that's the character I've come up with for Dustin. It's a spinoff of the wrestler. It's Gold Dustin, and he's getting all of his gold Derek Carr prisms, and he just reminds me of Gold Dustin. He's a good character, but he's like mediocre. He'll never win the championship. So Gold Dustin is the way we're going with him. But I got a video I want to put out, and I need Brendan to put up to make something for me. So I would talk to him. So let me check and see who we got in the chat. Jay's here. Now, Jay is also in the league, right? So Jay's in the league. He's here with us in the chat. Global, what's going on, man? Collector's Dream, Orlando, always showing up on the live stream, supporting everybody. Appreciate that.
Orlando's awesome. Yeah,
Josh Packham. If I'm in charge of chat, it'll be fine. Hopefully, I don't fall too far behind. Stooks, baseball cards, and curiosity. What's going on? Dan, the card man. Which betting agency is setting the markets for this? So, people started putting out their Smack Talk videos today. I did one when I introduced the league weeks ago, driving in my car, and it was just all off the top of my head. Dustin put out one today that was just funny because he had on sunglasses, and every time he said something, he was like, "Woo!" He was like, "I'm going to win. Woo. I'm going to win. Woo. This person can't win. Woo." It was just a whole lot of woos. And then Neo put out a good one that was pretty witty. However, how can you cut a promo on someone and not be in front of the camera?
Pretty weak sauce. Pretty weak sauce.
It was his logo on the screen, and then he's cutting promos on everybody. And I'm like, come on, man. You got to be able to look your competitor in the eye when you're cutting a promo on them. I could see him sitting behind the camera with a script, reading it. And I'm going to do this to Dakota, and I'm going to beat down Pump and Dump Steve, and I'm going to get sponsorship Dustin. He probably had somebody write it for him. He probably has writers.
He knows he's about to get handed an ass whipping, so he probably didn't want to show his face in public. That's all.
I will say we did do a fantasy league a couple years ago that you ran and had some people in it, and it also had some viewers in it, and I don't think I fared very well in that league.
I don't think you did either. I forgot.
I don't think I did.
Actually. I think I came in second like I did in my last league, actually.
I don't remember much about it. I don't even remember any of my roster. I think I took some injuries, or I don't think I drafted well. I can't really remember. I remember I was doing that draft while I was doing another draft. I was doing a live draft at home, and I was doing that draft on the phone, and I kind of got the rosters mixed up, so I can't remember who was on where. So let's see. Dustin should at least be polka dot Dusty Rhodes. Neo hears there's a poll. His vote total magically goes up 1 vote.
Yeah.
So Michael Ham's safe. Michael Ham, is there a hurricane going on down there in the Florida area? Rav Cards, what's going on, man? What's up, Rav? So I know who Rav is. Hung out with him at the National and in Atlanta and stuff. Didn't know who he was. Like, he has a different Instagram name. And I always knew him from Instagram and didn't know his YouTube name. We have Matrix here. I think I said he is also in the league. What is up, Jordan? Hobby Champ says, please be Ziggy No then. I'm not sure what he means by that. But all right, so let's talk about right now. Let's get into content creation just a little bit, because you've really slowed down. I've slowed down. I just wanted to ask you, because myself, as somebody who can't do content every day, when I first started doing YouTube, I was putting out videos almost every day, if not 4 to 5 times a week. And I think it was because being someone that was new to YouTube and things like that, it almost felt like that was what I was supposed to do. Because a lot of channels and stuff that I had watched, whether it be hobby channels or whether it be music channels, reaction channels, I watch everything on YouTube. I felt like they put out videos like all the time. So I was like, oh man, I'm going to do videos, and I'm going to do videos every day. And it was like 4 or 5 times a week. And I think I did that because that's what I thought kind of like you were supposed to do, because I wasn't doing it to build a subscriber count. I was just doing it because I was like, oh man, I guess I got to put out a video today. I got to put out a video today. And then it was overwhelming. It felt like a chore. And then when I stepped back and realized, you know what, I can put out a video every week or twice a week, and that's cool for my viewers. That's when I kind of got relaxed and started enjoying it again even more. Like you, I know you've stepped away a couple times. It's really hard to actually really step away because you do have interaction with people. There's probably people you felt like you met. So right now, what do you look? How would you describe your level of content as far as output goes? Not your level as far as quality of content, because your content's good, but I mean as far as and this isn't trying to be an interview. This is just me talking to you as a friend, just trying to get your take of where you sit in the space right now as far as your comfort zone.
Let me add a little bit of perspective to some of this. Perspective that you have, by the way, you may have forgotten or not be on top of your mind right now. But you started before me by a few months at least,
Yeah.
But we both started late in the game in 2020. I started around January 1st, 2021, and you had me beat by a few months. And a big reason we both did it was because we were going, stir crazy at home, and we needed a little bit more interaction with people. And we were watching this stuff now independently. Like, we weren't doing this together, by the way, chat. But me and Steve have talked about this in the past. And I think, frankly, both of us were starved for like interactions with people, and YouTube was an outlet for that. And I do agree that at first I just wanted to interact with people, and then you get looped into how do I make my channel better? And all the videos at the time on YouTube about how to make your channel better was make more videos. And so then you get almost frantic about making videos. And then for me, what happened is I moved cities from Austin to Houston. I had a baby, and it just kind of hits you. Life gets real. It's a little bit different when you're locked in your house and there's no real obligation, no nothing, and there's nothing else to do. Then you have a family and there's a lot to do, and so I stopped making content. And so when I retired the first time, like, it wasn't easy. I was pretty. I mean, it was a relief when I said, "Hey guys, I'm done. I'm not making any more content." I felt so happy, and it was a great space for me. Like, it was good. And then what I found now, it's been a little bit over a year since I like first retired, and now I've done it like 3 times, but I'm not really retiring. What's really happening? I just talked about it on my last stream. I just off a stream for my channel. What's really happening is I'm stepping away for 3 to 4 months, and I'm just doing life. Like, I'm just enjoying myself, and I'm focusing on cards, but I'm still active in the card community, both as a buyer and a seller, but also engaged with people. And then what I find is I take those 3 to 4 months off, and I kind of just find some it's my creative space. And then during that time, stuff starts to build up in my head, and then I gotta put it out. And that's when I'll make videos for 4 to 6 weeks, and hopefully, I mean, they're pretty well received. There's some people, to my amazement, still show up and they look at it and they watch it, with months of me being radio silent. So it's pretty nice. And yeah, that's kind of my model right now. I feel like I'm at the end of one right now. I think I've been putting out content for about a month now, and I feel like I'm kind of out of juice. Like, I've said my ideas, and it's time for another little sabbatical,
Yeah. And like with me, one of my biggest things that was always popular for me was my Monday night live stream, which I talked about earlier. That was even more so. And for somebody who had a smaller subscriber count, for some reason, I was getting good viewership on my Monday night live stream. And I was doing it every Monday night. I worked Mondays, and I was getting off work and coming home and doing it just like I am doing right now. And man, for a while, it had a really long run, and it was really building up momentum. But then it got to be like, oh man, I don't feel up to it tonight. It was a long day at work. And like, I would get off work at 8 o'clock and I'd be live streaming at 9. And I would be like, man, it's been a long day at work. And then I would get torn because I was like, you know what? I really want to lay down and get some rest. But there's a lot of people that are looking forward to my live stream tonight. So I got torn between my own, I don't want to say health, but just my own relaxation and family time and things like that, to where, but also the time that I wanted to give and interact with my viewers. And it was like, man, and sometimes it was just like a tug of war. to the point to where I just kind of stopped doing them. My work schedule changed, and of course, I moved since then as well. Um, and now that I do the off centered with Dustin every other Wednesday, I really look forward to it because like it's only like twice a month. So it feels like an event. It feels like, oh man, yeah, off centered is tonight. This is going to be fun. When one of us feel like we can't make it or we can't cancel or we got to cancel or postpone, I get bummed because I'm like, it's actually something I look forward to as a part to being like, okay, I have to be here and I'm here because I have to be here. Like now it's more like it was never, I always wanted to be there. But like I said, some nights when you just feel like having some time to yourself after work and people are expecting you to be on Monday night, there would be times when I would advertise, I'm going live tonight on Monday night in the middle of the afternoon. And then 9 o'clock would roll around and I'd be like, man, I really don't feel up to it tonight, but I've already told everybody I'm going to be there, you know? So it was kind of like, it kind of got into that to where I didn't want to just obligate myself to something that I wasn't going to be able to do. So now it's just kind of like pop up live streams whenever I can do them.
Dude, I felt the exact same. I mean, my Friday night lives felt like a staple for my channel. And, you know, going back to that's, you know, YouTube people tell you, you know, stay consistent, do this, do that. And then it really started to weigh on me, wane. And then, you know, it's taking a lot from me. And then, you know, I had the baby. And then, so like I fucking stream for 6 hours on a Friday night and Sunday, well, I'm dead all day Sunday. Then you don't really get the full rest that you want. It impacts your life. And I went through the exact same phase where like, I wasn't saying I was going to go live. And then at noon, all right, I'm going to go live, you know? And then nighttime would roll around. Shit, I'm tired, man. I want to go to bed. And yeah, I honestly think that I was in a pretty bad space with YouTube for probably 8 months or something like that. Just, I let it dictate like how I was living my life. And, you know, obviously it shouldn't be that way. And yeah, I feel like I'm in a much better space with it now. And to your point, like, you know, you have these couple of months and you look forward to them. Every time I do a live now, I'm bringing the heat, man. I'm excited. I prep. I got a question. Like I'm ready to go. And I feel like I bring a lot more energy. It's a little bit different. I don't drink on the lives anymore. So, you know, it's a little bit different, but I mean, chat's always good. They're engaged. And just like you said, like the show ups for lives on my channel are larger than they should be relative to my subscriber count to, you know, compared to other channels. And, you know, I don't want to say I take pride in that, but I guess it makes me happy that chat wants to show up and they feel, you know, listened to, or they feel it's engaging, whatever it is exactly. You know, I appreciate that they like being there.
Yeah. So let's talk about some football. All right, enough about our content, enough about this. Let's talk about some football. That's why people are here. Let's talk about regular football. Let's talk about football cards and, of course, fantasy football. That's why we're here. We're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to try not to run the live stream too long, and I don't want to sound this to sound like an interview, but let's see. NFL right now.
I got one for you.
Okay, let's go.
I had a really good question on the stream I just ended, and it was, where is Aaron Rodgers? Where is he going to end legacy wise compared to other quarterbacks?
Man, well, here's here. Before I give you the answer on a legacy, I was having a discussion with some guys at work the other day who were like talking about. I have a friend at home that's a huge Buffalo Bills fan at work. I mean, huge Buffalo Bills fan. So, and he's one of these delusional fans where, you know, he's a lot. You know, he talks a lot about his team, and I get that you like your team, and I get that there's certain things that you say about your team that are true, but then there's certain things that you say about your team that's just completely delusional, and you sound like a foolish fan, right? So, he's like Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league. Okay, so every Bills fan probably is mostly going to say that, and then you sit down and you talk intelligently to him, and you say, "Come on, man." Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now. What he's doing, what he's playing with, you know, he's got 2 Super Bowls already. And when you say something like that, they want to get defensive and start saying, "Oh, Josh Allen is this, that, and the other." And oh, calm down. I'm not taking anything away from Josh Allen. By saying that he's not the best isn't saying that he's not a great quarterback. I'm just saying he's not number one. He's not Patrick Mahomes. So that was pretty easy. But then we're discussing, we're like, well, who would be your number 2 quarterback in the league right now? And I said, and this isn't fantasy, because a good quarterback and a good fantasy player, or a good NFL player and a good fantasy quarterback player, are two different things. So right now I'm strictly talking NFL. I said, until one of these young quarterbacks that everybody is really in love with actually does something, I can't argue against saying Aaron Rodgers is the second best quarterback in the league right now, because he hasn't shown a lot of fall off. He's still playing quality football. His stats may not be as high as they used to be, but it's not long ago that he was in an MVP running. And he's won MVPs. He's won a Super Bowl. There's not a lot of other players currently playing right now that are still playing at a high level that already have accolades that he has. So I'm like, until one of these younger guys can prove that they're better than Aaron Rodgers, or that they can accomplish more than Aaron Rodgers, I don't care what the stat sheets say. I don't care that you're passing for 5,000 yards and rushing for 900 yards as a quarterback and scoring a ton of fantasy points. I care about the intangibles or whatever. So as of right now, I would still say, and it's up for debate, and maybe Aaron Rodgers has a big fall off this year. I don't know, talent wise. Maybe his arm is gone. Maybe his mobility is gone. Maybe he's lost. Maybe his reading the field isn't as quick. Maybe he's not as sharp as he used to be. I don't know. If things come as age comes, the quarterbacks start to lose it a little bit. But until he really shows that he's fallen off a cliff, it's hard to argue against Aaron Rodgers being the second best quarterback in the league right now.
Let me ask you this. You're a Dolphins fan. You like your, Tua, all this stuff. Say Tua doesn't exist, and you get to pick any quarterback in the league. I'm going to give you two quarterbacks. You get to pick either one to be your quarterback this year. It's only a 1-year contract. You don't get him next year. It's only a 1-year deal. Aaron Rodgers or Joe Burrow? Who do you want?
1-year deal to win it all. Aaron Rodgers or Joe Burrow? I'm going to have to, this is tough, because Burrow has been in a Super Bowl recently and he lost it. Well, he didn't lose it. I mean, the team lost. It is a team game. I would probably, based on the argument that I just made, I would probably say Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, I think raw talent wise, and coming into their prime right now, Joe Burrow, talent wise, is probably a step ahead of Aaron Rodgers, because one of them is on their way in and one of them is on their way out. But as far as being smart, I mean, if you put Aaron Rodgers in Miami's offense, he's never had an offense like that around him. He's played with great players. He's played with Devontae Adams. He played with Jordy Nelson. He's never had a complete team around him, I don't think, like the Miami team has now. So, and Burrow probably has the best wide receiver. Burrow's never played with a bad team. Since he's come into the league, he's had weapons around. As far as weapons go,
he had weapons, but he also had, arguably the worst offensive line to ever get to the Super Bowl. I mean, that's not nothing. To me, it's Joey B, and it's not close. But that said,
for 1 year, if I'm signing somebody to be the future of my team, I'm taking Joe Burrow. If I'm taking somebody and I got to win right now, I'm probably going to take Aaron Rodgers, just because I think he can play more mistake-free football. You don't need to be a huge playmaking quarterback with the Dolphins as much as you need to be just a mistake-free quarterback. So I can see Burrow putting up bigger numbers and being a playmaker, but I can see Aaron Rodgers being the smart quarterback that's not going to throw you the interception that's going to lose the game.
You wild. I can't believe chat's not roasting you for this.
Because look at what they were doing with Tua, right? I would say Aaron Rodgers is a grade above Tua.
Yeah, of course.
So, and with Tua, Miami had 2,000-yard wide receivers last year. I haven't, other than you talk about offensive line, I haven't necessarily seen Burrow persevere through being on a bad offense. He was drafted. T. Higgins was drafted with him. Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon were already there. The next year, Jamar Chase was drafted. you know, he's in a great situation right now, and he came in to that situation. And not to mention, what he had Jamar Chase and with Justin Jefferson with him in college. So I wouldn't say he's ever been on a team where he's had to be the guy to make it strictly happen. Kind of like where we saw Patrick Mahomes last year, where what Juju was his best receiver, and that was even spotty. So it's kind of like,
Like some of the chat. Look, your whole argument, I can get behind
and look,
100%
and this
for
isn't. I'm
Rodgers.
not I'm not shitting on Joe Burrow either. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
just
yeah.
me saying. This is just me saying if I had a 1 year deal and I had to pick somebody to win it, like if I had to pick somebody to win a game for me right now, I would choose Aaron Rodgers over Joe Burrow at the moment.
Man, I disagree. I get that argument and I agree with it. If you're gonna say Rodgers over Allen, or Rodgers over Herbert, but Rodgers over Burrow, can't do. Burrow he's him. I mean, obviously Mahomes is number one, but Burrow's number two in my book.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue against either one of them, but because I have to pick one, I just right now I would feel more safe with a Aaron Rodgers than I would a Joe Burrow,
With an old man on
and
an
especially
ayahuasca retreat.
and
Steve, do you
especially
do
if we're talking about
ayahuasca?
an entire season as well.
Are you on ayahuasca right now? Is that what's happening? No.
I mean, we're
Okay.
talking about Joe Burrow right now. Is he even going to be ready in week one?
I thought he was. I thought they said it was just some calf strain. But.
I mean, okay. I mean, I just know this is a young guy that's already had his knee rebuilt once and is had suffered a calf injury in preseason. I mean, I don't know if durability is one of his strengths either.
Just 1 year. I don't need it. It'd be all right. You got Mike White for backup anyway. You'd be fine.
I mean, I can't say anything. Tua is a concussion case, but Aaron Rodgers has been pretty durable throughout his entire career.
Yeah, he has been. It's fair.
So, yeah, some people are going to agree with me. Some people aren't, and that's fine. That's just my take. I honestly don't think there's a wrong decision there. All right, so before you got me on that question, I was going to ask you if you had any hot takes on the NFL this year. Do you think that there's any teams? Let's go with the AFC, because the AFC is going to be highly, highly, highly competitive. That's where a lot of majority of your younger quarterbacks are, and now you even had guys like Aaron Rodgers move in there. You have Deshaun Watson back for a full season. In the AFC, other than the usual suspects that have been making the playoffs the last couple of years, do you see any teams, really getting over the hump this year? Do you see any teams that have run into roadblocks finally getting to the Super Bowl? Do you see the Bengals making it back? Do you see the Bills finally getting there? Do you see any of these teams knocking off the Chiefs? Are the Jets ready to go now with Aaron Rodgers? Or is there a team that's just been written off that you think is actually a playoff team?
I'll give you some stock up, some stock down. So teams that I think are going to be worse than people expect. I think the Browns are going to be a lot worse. Deshaun Watson does not look to have it. He has been awful in the preseason. He looks completely out of sync with just the world. The Jets, based off of Hard Knocks, the Jets are going to be a disaster. They're going to be a complete dumpster fire. Now, Rodgers is awesome, and I like Rodgers, and Rodgers is going to have them salvage them to maybe 9 wins, but that team is going to be bad. They think way too highly of themselves. And the Bills, I think the Bills are on the downswing, unfortunately. I feel like they have too much internal strife in that team, in that building. They didn't make enough upgrades this season. I think they're going to struggle. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. Teams on the up, I mean, Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. They'd be my Super Bowl favorites right now. The Bengals would be second out of the AFC for me. And the third team, if I had to pick a sleeper team, I think the Steelers are going to make some traction. I think the Steelers are going to sneak into the playoffs this year. It's going to be an interesting division. There's no sleeper team in the AFC South. The AFC West is the Broncos, if you want to call them a sleeper team. I don't see the Chargers with Kellen Mund's going to be interesting. You're going to see a lot of offense. You're going to see the tight end used a lot. It's going to be a good team. But I don't really trust either of those teams. So I don't really have a sleeper team. I would say the Steelers, but I don't see them as a serious contender. I think they could win 10 games, get in the playoffs, and maybe sneak one in the playoffs. But I think quarterback is just so good in the AFC. To think that Burrow or Mahomes aren't going to win the championship game in the AFC, I can't wrap my head around that. The Dolphins maybe, because the Dolphins is just such a good roster, which is more of an NFC trait. But I like Mike McDaniel so much, I could see the Dolphins winning if Tua is really healthy all year. I could see that.
Yeah,
there you would be my sleeper.
I mean, so for me, the question with the Dolphins is always going to be the quarterback. Every time Tua drops back from center, I get butterflies now. I just not because of injury, not because I'm scared he's going to get hurt and hurt his leg or hurt his knee or anything. I don't want to see him locked up on the field again. I just can't.
That was
as
awful.
someone myself, I'm epileptic, so I just the head stuff, the head trauma stuff. I don't like to see it. And so we got questions at quarterback there in Miami. It is a great team. Whoever plays quarterback there will do well, but I don't know if any of them will play championship caliber type football where you need a quarterback to make a play down the stretch for you. The Bills, to touch on a little bit again, I think they'll be highly competitive, but Josh Allen got to limit his mistakes. Some of those mistakes you can make in the regular season, but when you get into the playoffs, and I know his arm was a little banged up last year, but like you said, I don't know how much the team really did to improve where they were weak. Rumors are Diggs isn't happy there. I don't know how true that is. You never know what's true and what's not. I'm not an NFL insider or anything, but again, they're another year older besides Josh Allen. Diggs is another year older. They did bring in the tight end rookie, but I don't know if they did a whole lot for their offensive line or defensive line. They haven't had a strong running game other than Josh Allen. And you need to be able to run the ball some in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. You can't outpass everybody, especially when they know that's what you're going to do and good coaches and good defenses game plan for it. One of my teams that wasn't mentioned that I think – now, this is all barring injury. None of this is saying, hey, people are – I think the Ravens have a strong case to push into the playoffs this year. I think they made a lot of changes. They finally have – they've kind of been like the dinosaur of the NFL, kind of like Tennessee, where they play good defense, they run the ball, and they run the ball, and they run the ball. And you can be successful like that, but in today's NFL, you have to pass the ball. So, like the old blueprint of run and defense wins championships has kind of been thrown by the wayside to an extent. You have to be able to run the ball some, but you have to be able to pass the ball quite a bit now because giving up 21 points now is almost a good defensive outing. So they brought in, they're going to have a new offensive philosophy. They're going to pass some more. They drafted Zay Flowers. They brought in Beckham. I'm not sure what he offers at this age, but he does offer, some veteran experience, things like that. He's been in a Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl he was in, although he was got hurt in it. We called a touchdown in it. And Lamar's got his contract. He's back healthy. Can he play MVP Lamar type football? I don't know, but I don't know if he needs to. The defense is always somewhat solid in Baltimore. So that's a team that I just don't want to count out right now. And I am not a Baltimore fan, man. I live near Baltimore, and so I deal with Ravens fans all the time. But one team that I do think I will disagree with you on a little bit is I think the Browns will be good. I would not be surprised if the Browns win that division. I wouldn't be shocked. This is how polarizing the Browns are, though. If the Browns won that division, I wouldn't be shocked. If they finished dead last in that division, I wouldn't be shocked. So does that make sense? Because I feel like there's a lot of moving parts there. I feel like if it all comes together and they win the division, I'd be like, well, it all came together. They won the division. Deshaun Watson's back in form. They got a great running game. They got a good defense. They got good receivers. They brought in Elijah Moore to help out with Amari Cooper. They got the pieces in place and it all worked out. So I wouldn't be surprised. But I also wouldn't be surprised if it all fell apart. So that's kind of where I stand with them. I think the Browns can win that division. I also think the Browns can lose that division just because I think there's so many variables there, but they have the capabilities if things were to play out correctly. If they were to play up to their potential, I guess.
Everyone says the Cardinals will have the first and second overall pick because they have the Texans' first round pick, and of course they're on. The second overall pick is going to be the Browns pick. The Browns are going to be a disaster. Deshaun Watson is going to look bad, and it is going to cause an implosion inside of that building that will be heard on the West Coast. It's going to be that whole team is going to be a tire fire by the end of the year. It's going to be bad. That's what I think.
That whole division out there, you said?
The team. I think everything about that team is going to be a tire fire because I think.
Oh yeah.
I think the owner's going to be mad. The GM's going to be mad. That Deshaun Watson contract is looming. I think Watson's. I think he's toast. I think he's done. I don't think it's gonna work well for him.
I think that out there in Arizona, how long are they going to hold Kyler out? I'm hearing that they may not even play him this year.
Did you even see? Oh my gosh, they are legit tanking. So everyone thought Colt McCoy is going to be their starting quarterback.
He got cut.
Year. They cut him. I mean, they're really tanking. They might be tanking to the extent that the NFL may step in and say something, which doesn't happen in the NFL. It's not like the NBA, but it may actually happen this year.
And I mean, they would draft a quarterback. They would part ways with Kyler, which, I mean, Kyler in the right situation can be a good quarterback, I still think.
Man,
but
I'm telling you, this is the thing that no one's really talking about. But if all goes to plan, they take Caleb Williams 1 overall. Kyler Murray's now available for free, basically. And what I think is going to happen is I think this is my crazy conspiracy. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be let go from Minnesota. I think he's going to sign in Green Bay if Jordan Love sucks, and he's going to be good in Green Bay. And I think the Vikings are going to pick up Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray and Jay Jettas, Justin Jefferson are friends. It could actually work out. And I think highly of Murray as a quarterback. He may be mid. It's fine, but he's a good quarterback. And so, yeah, to your point, yeah, the domino after, where does Kyler go? I mean, he's going to go somewhere, and they're going to get.
Well, there'll be a lot of teams in the market for him. You know, if something happens with Tua, Miami would be in the market. I mean, nobody still knows what's going to happen in San Francisco. Brock Purdy had a good run last year, but we'll find out this year. You know, after teams have seen more tape and things on him, where he stands as far as talent level in the NFL. I think if Brock Purdy is a flop for San Francisco this year, I think they moved on from Trey Lance because they're ready to win now. If Brock Purdy doesn't work out for them this year, which he may, I'm not saying that he's not. I think that's Kirk Cousins' landing spot next year, San Francisco.
That would be wild. That would be pretty amazing.
And then that opens up a spot in Minnesota. Yeah, there'll be a lot of shakeups next year, especially just depending on what happens. Who knows? Brock Purdy could be the future franchise quarterback for the 49ers. I don't know that. I'm just saying I think it's in place that's another unknown right now. Rock and Jocks, I do believe Dobbins is healthy. In my fantasy drafts that I've done, he is being drafted as if he's healthy. So that's what I'm going to give you on that. And I'm 5 minutes behind right now. Kenny G, I love your saxophone. But he says, pump and dump Steve. That's what Neo nicknamed me today. Neo's still bitter because he begged for me to sell him a Baker Mayfield card. So I sold it to him. I said, look, Neo, I'm your friend. You don't want to buy Baker Mayfield, okay? Let me sell this to someone else so that we don't have any hard feelings, 2 years from now. So what happens 2 years later, he says, Pump and Dump Steve sold me a Baker Mayfield card at the 2021 Chicago National. I had another buyer at the table about to buy that card, and Neo was standing over there like a little kid, heartbroken, with tissues. Please, Steve, don't sell that card. I actually sold a Kyler Murray and a Sam Darnold to that person instead. I talked to them off of the Baker Mayfield. And this makes me sound like a terrible person because not only did I sell a Sam Darnold and a Kyler Murray to somebody, I then turned around and sold a Baker Mayfield to somebody else. Hey, at the time, I don't know. I don't, but they were wanting, that's what people were wanting to buy. But anyway, Neo ended up with his Baker Mayfield. I'm pretty sure when he put it in his video about his national pickups, he talked about how awesome it was and how awesome Baker was and how he got a great deal on the card, and now 2 years after the fact, hindsight being 2020, Pump and Dumb Steve sold him on a Baker Mayfield flawless. So,
yeah, you got him pretty good on that, man. Yeah, you whooped him pretty good on that one. Hopefully, he doesn't think Baker's still playing fantasy. We'll see.
Matrix says, "What is your take on the Jags?" Now, keep in mind that Matrix is in the fantasy league, so you may or may not want to give him the full truth on what you think about the Jags.
So because you mentioned the Ravens. I didn't mention the Ravens because I think they're good, but to talk about the Jags, I think the Jags are very good. I think. To me, Trevor Lawrence is a top 3 quarterback in this league very soon. I just don't know if it's going to be this year. I still think they're missing some pieces on that roster overall. So I like them a lot. Maybe win 12 games. Maybe win 1, maybe 2 games in the playoffs and lose in the conference championship. I could see
that. Okay. So you think they're a playoff team?
Oh, for sure.
High-powered offense.
The Jags will – I don't know if you can bet. I don't know how all this works. I don't bet, but to me, there's no way they don't win the division. The division's so bad. The AFC South is so bad. Right. There's not a good team there besides them. So.
People responded. I got Kyler's going to the Niners. Then he's like, "Oh, if Kyler and Cousins, man, we're talking. This season hasn't even happened yet, and people are talking about the possibilities of next season, man." Ayo Rhino. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Kyler is going to the Niners. I don't know. I think the Niners are going to settle in for more of an established veteran.
Yeah. When you said Cousins, that makes a lot of sense to me because Cousins would be a free agent. He could work a deal that they could pay for. With Kyler, he's got a $52 million a year contract that starts next year. So the Niners can't acquire. I don't see them acquire.
Yeah. Neo's down here, so I'm gonna pull this comment in. So Neo says Steve not helping his case for Pump and Dump nickname, but Adam R above that says we all remember Neo's hard on for Baker. Let's see here. Yeah, see, he traded a Jim Baker for a Jim Brown, so that worked out for him.
You did all right then. So tell him to stop crying about it, chat.
All right, so let's bring this up. Let's talk a little bit of fantasy here. The return of Calvin Ridley. Being drafted in most fantasy drafts, so no later than round 5, usually up around round 4. A lot of people looking at him as a wide receiver, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2, with, top 5 wide receiver potential in that offense if he comes back and plays like he did with Atlanta. This is a player, I'm going to be honest, I have not drafted him hardly in any mock drafts. I've had one actual real draft so far, and I didn't take him either. I don't like his cost in round 4. If I'm in round 4 and I'm taking a wide receiver, it's not Ridley. If I'm taking another position, of course it's not Ridley. How do you feel about Ridley coming back after missing a year, being on a new team? Up-and-coming team, good offense, good offensive coach, good young quarterback. Going to be clearly the number 1, even though they give Christian Kirk a ton of money last year. Do you like Ridley coming back and being a high-end fantasy wide receiver?
So in my Dynasty League, which is my big league, I do have Calvin Ridley on the roster. I traded Jerry Jeudy for him. That worked out pretty well since Judy's hurt now. So I like Ridley. I'm rooting for him. 4th round in a 12-team standard league is hard for me to take Ridley. I mean, he definitely has the upside to justify that pick. If maybe you went, running back, quarterback, and
right. And it's probably mid to late 4th. It's probably mid to late 4th. Maybe he falls to early 5th. It all just depends.
Right.
But
yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, around that space, I can see it. I can certainly see the justification. It depends on your philosophy, what you want to do and things like that. I don't know that I'd be taking him there, but I see the reasoning and certainly if he hits, the reason he's going there, the floor his floor doesn't justify. Yeah, it's that upside.
Yeah, upside.
If he hits as a true wide receiver 1, you get him in the 5th range. oh my goodness, I got a
Yeah,
first round pick in the fifth.
yeah, if he hits if he ends the season as a top 5 wide receiver, and you're getting him at the back end of the 4th, he's probably a league winner, or is one of those league winner players that really that you got late. As long as your first three to 4 round picks pan out as well. You can usually miss on one of them, but if you miss on multiples of your first 3 to 4 rounds, then it's a tough sledding.
Yeah, you can't miss on. Yeah, I mean, you miss on 2 of those, like injury, whatever happens.
Yeah.
I mean, you just kind of sink your year. Yeah, it sucks.
So here's a difference. So he's saying Christian Kirk will have more fantasy points than Ridley. The only tough thing to say about that is right now is Christian Kirk is primarily playing slot. He's not even lining up in 2 wide receiver sets. So just depending on how many 3 wide receiver sets they're going to run in Jacksonville, or how are they going to run on first and second down? I know he'll be out there for every third down. He'll be out there in the 2-minute drill. He'll be out there when they're playing from behind. But, to start the game, how many early snaps is Christian Kirk going to get? Because, it's all about, you got to be on the field. You got to have opportunity to get stats. And it's not a question about Christian Kirk's talent. I mean, he's a solid wide receiver, a good route runner. But in all of preseason, he didn't run with the first 2 or in their 2 wide receiver sets. So because he is kind of a slot guy.
Yeah, it's going to be different for him. And they have Zay Jones too and Evan Ingram. I mean, there's a lot of interesting pieces there. And then, okay, Travis Etienne out of the backfield. I know a lot of people like him, but hey, they drafted Tank Bigsby. That's going to be your red zone back. And so does that hurt Etienne? That Jaguars, there's going to be a lot of offense. There's going to be a lot of scoring, but I think it's going to be a little bit divvied up from what people think. And I don't know exactly where to go with those picks. The one thing I like in the middle is Trevor Lawrence, I guess.
Right. And so if we're talking about this from an NFL standpoint, as opposed to a fantasy standpoint, the Kirk versus Ridley argument here, I would say maybe from a fantasy standpoint, Kirk could be more valuable just because we're drafting him. If you're getting Kirk 8th or 9th round and he's your flex, that's good value. As far as total points scored and stats at the end of the year, I don't think it's close. I think Ridley will be clearly the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver in Jacksonville. But if you're talking from a fantasy standpoint and what you have to pay to get one player versus the other, is Ridley going to produce so much more than Kirk to where you have to take him 5 rounds ahead of Christian Kirk? You know what I mean?
Didn't chat help me out here, but didn't Ridley take? I mean, he obviously lost last year due to gambling, but didn't he take the year off before that, or like 2/3 of the year because of mental health? I mean, Kirk feels a lot. Kirk feels safe. I mean, Kirk feels steady, and he's going to be there. Now, the upside is obviously not as high, but with Ridley, there's a lot of variables going into that. It makes me fantasy or NFL. Either way, there's a lot of things going. There's a reason Jacksonville paid Kirk, $17 million a year or whatever it is. There's a solid floor there. There's boom or bust with Ridley.
Yeah, I mean, what I look at with Christian Kirk, look at what he did last year. So last year he was supposed to be the number 1. As much money as they gave him, they brought him in. What did he do last year? Can he improve on that? Does Ridley coming in make him better? Does he see less coverage? I don't think so, because he lined up more in the slot last year as well. All I think it does is probably take targets away from him. So if, in my opinion, Kirk's going to get less volume, so he's going to have to be more efficient with the volume that he gets. So that is going to have to be, do you think he's going to be more efficient with the volume that he gets?
I think that's fair.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, AEO said, he took off time for mental health. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we're all caught up on the comments pretty much. And we spent quite a bit of time talking about Jags receivers, talking about other things. We haven't touched on anything in the NFC, and the NFC is more so up in the air. You have San Francisco, you have the Eagles. Other than those 2 teams, is there any teams that really pop out? There's probably a team that I'm missing, but is there teams that pop out in the NFC that you think are really legit. Because last year going into the Super Bowl, I was like, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, but I think the 3 best teams in the AFC could all beat the Eagles. And I might be wrong, and Eagles fans hate me around here because I live not too far from Philly, but that was just my take on it. So, you think there's any other teams in the NFC right now that are ready to challenge the 49ers and the Eagles and any of the teams in the AFC?
Yeah, so well, Matrix Sports Car says the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks is a good call. I wouldn't put them in this category. I'd put them in a tier down. The only other team I really mention is the Cowboys, and people aren't going to like that, but
Right.
12-4 the last 2 years. Now they lost Kellen Mond. They're gonna McCarthy's going to be running that offense, and I'm not a big McCarthy fan, but they invested in the running back position: Tony Pollard, Malik Davis, Ronald Jones, who I don't care about, but Deuce Vaughn. Now, as a gadget player is going to be interesting. Wide receivers, they added Brandon Cooks to pair with CeeDee Lamb, and now Michael Gallup's your third wide receiver. So there's a lot there to like on offense. There's still a good offensive line. And then on defense, they added a lot of mass in the derriere region with Mozzie Smith in the front seven there. So I like what the Cowboys have. They've shown they've been good. Their issue last year was Zeke kind of finally fell off a cliff. And then Tony Pollard got hurt in the playoffs, and that really made them rely on Dak in the passing game, and that's just not going to work for them. They need to be able to run the ball effectively. And I think that they got, a younger, healthier stable of backs now. So I like the Cow. I still think they're maybe a cut below those two teams, but if you told me the Cowboys came out of the NFC, I wouldn't be too surprised.
Right. And if they were named something different, if they were named something different other than the Cowboys, because what's the cliche? The Cowboys are just going to cowboy, right? Like, they always have great rosters. They look good. They win a lot of games. They go on a winning streak. But then there's always just something that happens. I mean, it goes all the way back to Tony Romo, like fumbling the snap, right? So It's like they're going to be competitive, but there's just always something about them. And it's not even taking anything away from their players. It just always, I don't want to say it's a jinx, but it just always feels like there's something that happens to the Cowboys. And last year, I guess it might have been injuries. I will say from a fantasy perspective, and again, I'm tipping my hand here because I really don't care. I can audible my draft, but CeeDee Lamb is a player that I really love the draft value on, back end of the first, early second. And I think that he, out of any of the receivers going back there, can be the guy who comes up into the top 5 and replaces a Devontae Adams or replaces whoever your top 4 are. I don't think he's going to be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, but I think he can be on that level in that offense, passing a lot. New offensive coordinator. They're going to be running more underneath routes, more timing routes, trying to limit Dak Prescott's interceptions and stop throwing deep all the time. So, from a PPR standpoint, I think he gets a ton more targets because that's the kind of offense they're going to go to. And so I like CeeDee Lamb there. I think he's talented. Good after the catch, good route runner, good at catching the ball, or good hands. So I like him. I also like Pollard. So either way, I just think they have a lot of options when it comes to fantasy. They did move on from Dalton Schultz, who's now in Houston. Now, you're a Houston fan, so you got the talk from Thunder. I've always been a big Dalton Schultz fan. He's actually been on my fantasy team the last 2 seasons because I could get him in, I could get him as draft him as like tight end 6 through 8, and he was always just steady. So is he going to start in Houston, or do they have other tight end options down there?
We're lucky we have him. That's the only tight end we even have. I think we may only have one other tight end on the roster now after cuts.
Because he's being drafted in fantasy as if he's not even on a team. So I didn't know if that's because he's the number 2 down there, or if it's just because it's Houston and he's getting a bad name because it's no longer Dallas. It's no longer Dak. But if he's one of the main options and you have a young rookie quarterback, it's almost like a safety valve. Not saying that he's going to have a super high ceiling, but that, establishes a safe floor. And sometimes when you're playing a tight end in fantasy, you're just looking for a guy that can give you 6 to 8 points a week, unless you're drafting somebody like Kelsey to carry your team.
Yeah. I mentioned a little bit earlier, everyone thinks, the Texans' first round pick belongs to the Cardinals, and everyone thinks that that's going to be the second overall pick. I mean, there's a lot of disrespect for Houston, and rightfully so. We've been a dumpster fire for 3 years, but someone who follows the team, it's definitely turned around. It's not the same Houston Texans. It's going to be a lot different. We're not going to win 10 games. Hopefully we win 7, right? That's probably the goal for the year is 7. It might even be the stretch goal. 6 might be the real goal. But the team's going to be a lot more competitive. They're going to be a lot more into it. You're running that Shanahan style offense. You're going to see a lot of touchdowns from running backs in the red zone, but you're going to see a lot of play action going to the tight end, this sort of thing. So yeah, I think Schultz is still going to be fine. Is he going to have the same years he had in Dallas? No. Kellen Mund, the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys before this, now with the Chargers, is known for throwing the tight ends. Mm-hmm. It's what kind of goose Schultz's numbers, but more than Schultz. Musgrove behind him, and I can't remember the other tight end now, but they had Musgrove is a rookie. I forget now. It doesn't matter, but anyway, I'm off the plot a little bit, but yeah, tight ends. They throw the tight ends a lot. And I don't know if they're going to do that as much in Houston. So if you're getting him at tight end 8 or something, that might be where he lands. I don't know that it'd be much higher, but a lot of variance with tight ends, a couple touchdowns in the red zone, and tight end 8 becomes tight end 5. So
yeah, and I'm going to pull up Ian's comment here because from an NFL standpoint and from a fantasy standpoint, this is a team that has relevance. I think the Lions are a playoff team this year in the NFC. Again, I don't know to the extent to which they push into the playoffs is going to hinge around Jared Goff having a good game or a bad game, but they have a lot of good pieces. They have a intense head coach. They will be getting Jameson Williams back after week 6, right? Is he 6-game suspension? So I don't know if the bye week is in there or not. So once he gets back, they'll be full throttle. They do have a rookie running back who was moving up draft charts. And then they got a veteran running back in David Montgomery, who used to be an early fantasy pick and right now has kind of been falling off, kind of probably filling the Jamal Williams role this year. Probably going to be a touchdown vulture if you're looking at fantasy. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, another guy. I just talked about CeeDee Lamb, another guy that can end the season as a top 5 wide receiver. When you talk about the top 5 right now, who is everybody drafting off the board as the top 5? Of course, Jefferson, Chase, Kupp. A.J. Brown is going pretty high. I think A.J. Brown is one of the guys that can be knocked out of the top 5. Devontae Adams, again, I have him on a team, but I still think he's another one of the guys that could be knocked out of the top 5 by some of these younger guys like a CeeDee Lamb or like a Amon-Ra St. Brown. Oh, Tyreek Hill's in the top 5. How can I forget?
Yeah, Tyreek,
but Tyreek's up there too. So can you see a scenario where any of these guys, or first of all, where the Lions can be an NFL threat? Are they a threat to get into the playoffs, or do you think you can see them in an NFC championship game? Or from a fantasy standpoint, can you see the running back that they just drafted this year? Gibbs. I keep wanting to say Javid Best, but that's an older one.
It's like 09, I think.
Gibbs, yeah. Gibbs and St. Brown and Jameson Williams, when he comes back, does he have any fantasy relevancy?
Yeah. So, all right. So Lions playoffs, what's that look like? So the Lions, I don't envy their position. They have the opening night game, the opening kickoff game against the Chiefs. And Lions, to me, are fragile enough. If they look bad in that game, it could ruin their whole season. That's a team to me that could lose that game and lose all their momentum and it just really go downhill. That said, I really like the team. I like the roster. I like the coaching staff. I don't care for Dan Campbell, but I love their offensive coordinator. And their draft was kind of funny because they did all the things you're not supposed to do. First round, they took a running back and a linebacker. There's like the 2 positions you don't take in the first round now. And then they took a safety in the second round. What are you doing? Stop taking these players. But when you take a step back and you look at their draft, well, they got Jack Campbell, the best linebacker in the draft, Jamar Gibbs, second best running back, Brian Branch, top 2 safety, and they got a quarterback in Hendon Hooker. I think they had a really good draft. I think it's a strong team. I think they got great players. Aiden Hutchinson, second year, is going to be pretty solid. Malcolm Rodriguez next to Jack Campbell. It's going to be all that to say, I like the team. I think they'll be fine. I could see them pushing, but we'll see. Does Ben Johnson, can he push Jared Goff into an NFC championship? Maybe, because, again, the NFC is just so much weaker on quarterback play. Fantasy perspective.
He has been in a Super Bowl. A lot of people forgot that.
That's
he didn't
true.
play very good. It was against a good New England team. But Jared Goff did go to the Super Bowl with the Rams. So,
Yep. And for a fantasy perspective, I mean, Amon's he's going to be great. I think Gibbs is going to be great. I think probably the question is Jameson Williams. Like if you take a flyer on him late, I don't know where Jameis is going, but say you take him late and he ends up being a beast in the back half of the season.
mm-hmm.
He really could be a fantasy league winner for a guy comes in, plays at a wide receiver 1 or a low end or a low end wide receiver 1, high end wide receiver 2, just to add him to your roster in week 7. It's going to be a big boost.
But what would happen to a St. Brown if Williams, say Williams was, say for instance, Williams was ready to go week 1. There was no suspension, no anything. Do you think could St. Brown's being taken second round right now on the way back through? Do you think he is a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick if Williams is healthy? Or do you think he's just the guy in Detroit and he's looked good his first 2 seasons, the end of his rookie year and last year, gets a lot of volume. And really, because he gets a lot of volume, he puts up fantasy points. Do you see, from a raw talent standpoint, Williams being better? And then from, who is going to be the man once Williams finally plays? Where's a majority of the volume going to go? That's probably still a season away with the 6-game suspension. So I don't know. Do you see them just both being a 1A and a 1B? Or do you see kind of when Williams comes, them maybe drawing up more plays for him? Like, I don't know from a long-term. So I guess a better question would be like, if this was a dynasty league, who would you rather have?
Probably Amon-Ra, just
because they're both really young. So basically, it's just saying who do you think is going to be better in the future?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Jameson. He spent a year suspended, or he spent a year injured, and now half a year suspended. It's like I'll take the guy who's consistent, and especially if you're talking about a PPR league, I'm still going to value Amon-Ra highly. I mean, they're going to throw him the ball. He's going to get his catches. He's going to get his points. Will it go down a little bit? Will he miss a touchdown here or there with Jameson Williams? Sure. I think maybe the bigger issue is that Jamar Gibbs is on the team now, and they may be looking to throw to him underneath where they wouldn't really do that with Swift or Jamal Williams. So, I mean, I think I'm not as high on Amon as most people are. There's no question. I doubt that I draft Amon-Ra in any draft this year. I would be shocked if I draft Amon-Ra actually.
The way I'm feeling about him in draft and his ADP is he's coming to mid to late 2nd round. If I haven't taken my first receiver in the 1st round, then if he's on the board in the 2nd round and he's the best available, I'm taking him. But I'm not taking him in the 1st round. I'm not reaching early 2nd. For instance, my first draft that I did, I was drafting at the back end of the 1st. Well, I was drafting at 8, and I went Tony Pollard, Devontae Adams. Now, did I go into that? I didn't go into that draft intending to get either one of those players. And in most of my mock drafts, I haven't taken hardly any shares of either one of those players. That's just kind of the way the draft fell. You go in with a plan, but sometimes the players fall a different way, and you end up with players that you aren't necessarily excited about because they're not players that you necessarily like, but they're players that will produce fantasy points. So that's the way I look at that. With Amon-Ra St. Brown, if I'm drafting somewhere between 4 and 7, or even 1 through 7 in the 1st round, and then he's falling back to me, say I'm drafting 1 through 5, and my 2nd round pick isn't until the back end of the 2nd, then I do like St. Brown at that spot. That's my personal opinion,
like
because
St. Brown there, and because
when you look at the other receivers around him. And I guess that's going to depend on your roster build. Of course, if I'm drafting 5th and I take Tyreek Hill, I'm not going to come back through and take St. Brown. But if I haven't taken a receiver yet and I need my wide receiver 1 there in the 2nd round, then it's kind of him, Garrett Wilson, or Jalen Waddle at that point. And it's like, which one of the 3 do I want? And I'm just kind of lean St. Brown a little bit because he's in more of a, I don't want to say a stable quarterback situation because it's Jared Goff, but Tua has injury problems. Aaron Rodgers is in a new situation with the Jets. And I don't know how pass heavy the Jets will be. We know that the Lions are going to fling the ball around. So, and if they're playing from behind a lot, that's even better.
Their defense is pretty. I like their defense. I like the players anyway.
Oh, you have so is Inglorious in a dynasty league with you?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
So I have one dynasty league, and we have 12 teams. It's a great league. It's really awesome. It's actually the only fantasy I want to do. I told you I kind of didn't want to do the league because I don't want to do more fantasy, but
Right.
I love our dynasty league. And we do IDP, we do individual defensive players. I mean, it's deep. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. So we are an hour in and we haven't started drawing for the draft. So generic setup here on the channel, the way that we're going to draw this, I'm going to drop the names into the Indiana Jones hat and we're going to draw them out in order. And that's all we're going to do. I was going to set up something a little bit different, but this is last minute. It's a free league. It's for fun. It's for charity. It's to send somebody to the national.
Whoa. When he says free league, we put money in. We just don't get any money out.
Well, I mean, free as in we're not playing for anything. Free as in we're just playing for bragging rights. So I didn't even want to do this. I didn't want to do a draft order, but I had people pushing me saying, hey, I was just going to do it the night of the draft because I'm like, I don't want people accusing me of cheating and things like that. And they were like, look, it's free. It's entertaining. Just get it. We want to know our draft order so that we can practice before the draft. I don't know. Just practice, just do mock drafts from every position, guys. Stop being lazy. But anyway, we'll drop these in here. And okay, so Flipping Steve, we'll go in and shake these up. SCA. And let's get a topic up here to talk while I do this.
Yeah, I can.
This is a fair question.
Yeah.
Or this is a fair thought too. It just says St. Brown and PPR, probably Wilson in standard. That I can make sense. I don't know if St. Brown hasn't been a huge touchdown guy, huge red zone guy, and half PPR. Yeah, that would make sense. I could agree with that. I could also agree with the argument of just taking Wilson over St. Brown in a PPR league. I mean, they're going right about the same ADP, and like I said, if I was sitting in that position I was sitting in, and St. Brown went and Wilson was there, I'd be happy. And if Wilson went and St. Brown was there, I'd be happy. You know what I mean? You kind of know you're getting one of the three between Waddle, Wilson, and St. Brown. And I'd rather have Brown and Wilson because they're going to be the respective number ones on their offense over Waddle in Miami. PF Dizzle, nobody knows who he is. Gold Dustin. Forget the name of Gold Dustin.
Yeah, Ben, I don't know, man. I'm not a big St. Brown believer. I guess I'm just not. I mean,
right.
Like I said, I think
Ham can't fish.
Ham can't fish, but he can hunt apparently. But I believe that
Michael Ham hunting and fishing, guns and goodies.
The Lions have a shot at actually imploding. So I don't know. I think I stated on this show tonight. I think the Jets are going to be, they're not going to be what people think. But
yeah,
Wilson's
well,
like
you said, the Lions could implode, but I like having wide receivers on teams that lose, that trail a lot. There's no time like garbage time, baby. That's what I say in fantasy all the time. No time like garbage time. I said that to somebody because I took Michael Pittman as a wide receiver 3 really late in a draft the other night. This draft I had the other night was 3 receivers, 1 flex. So your wide receiver 3 is always going to be kind of spotty in a league that has such a demand for wide receivers. So my wide receiver 3 was Michael Pittman, and somebody was like, I wouldn't touch Pittman. I wouldn't take Pittman for nothing. And I'm like, I'm getting Pittman in like round 9 as my wide receiver 3. Yeah, I agree with the statement of I wouldn't touch Pittman in round 2 as my wide receiver 1 like it was last year. Because think about it. Last year, Pittman was being taken as round 2. In round 2 as a lot of people's wide receiver 1. This year, that same player, it has nothing to do with his talent as a player. It has to do with the Colts' inept offense.
Yeah.
Is now around 8 or 9 as a wide receiver 3 or flex. And he's the same guy. So we know what he can do. We've seen what he's capable of. And I just think with a team that's going to be playing from behind all the time, even with Richardson being very bad, there'll be enough. He'll catch enough to warrant wide receiver 3/flex numbers out of the 8 through 10 rounds. But no, I wouldn't touch him in the top 5.
I see you, Will, and I agree. But I mean, when we talk about trash time and garbage time, so I'll answer the question.
Neo.
In order, Neo. In order, I'll say Jets, Lions, Ravens. Most likely to implode. Jets, Lions, Ravens, in that order.
Hello, Jeff Wilson.
All right. Hello.
Jeff Will Greer.
Jeff Will Greer. Hey, Will Greer had a pretty good weekend. We'll see if he gets.
Yeah, but did they release him? They released him, right? Because of the Trey Lance situation.
They told him they were going to release him. They said, we want you to ball out so someone will pick you up.
Yeah, and then he went out and balled out. And maybe somebody picking up. Therapist, sports card therapist. Yeah, I'm not talking any trash on anybody tonight. I'm saving my promos for the build up to the games and things like that. Sports Card Matrix, who has been here in the chat. Neo, are you still with us?
He's probably asleep by now. You know that old man? The nursing home told me he's got to go to bed.
Northeast Ohio curfew. Lights out. Honey, I'll be to bed in a minute. I'm just drinking my Metamucil. Ziggy-Meister.
Ziggy, no.
Who I haven't seen in the chat, man. Where's our cheers at, Ziggy? Where's our cheers?
He was in my chat earlier, and I don't know. I guess we
burned everybody out. This is Jay Giuliano, who was in chat earlier.
JG.
JG.
Yep, listening to Steve yammer about nothing is what Neo says.
Yeah. Let's see. Neo has his depends on and is slurping the last of his iced in short. Ken from Sports Card Lessons. And I think this is the last one here. I don't want to draw my name first. I don't want the first pick of the draft. And if I drew my name first, everybody would say I was cheating. Investor, dealer, collector, not in that order.
So which pick do you want, Steve?
Let's see, we're shaking the hat up. So the names. Oh, this thing smells old and dusty, like it's from the 1980s. I want to be picking mid to back. I like 8, 9, something like that. I don't want to be in the top. I don't like the value in the second round and the way back through. It's just me. What do you want? What do you like?
In a little bit of mock tracks, I don't like 8 or 9. I'm not a big fan of those two spots, but 3 to 5, I like quite a bit.
Oh, see, so yeah. So if I get 8 or 9, and you get, or if I get 3 or 5, 3 through 5, and you get 8 or 9, and we just make a trade, right?
Yeah, boom, done.
All right. Yeah, because I'm feeling, I don't know. Like I said, I don't like the second round value sitting there. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Amon-Ra aren't that bad. I mean, if I'm drafting that early in the first round, I have to go RB, which sucks because you're making a decision between Tyreek Hill and an RB. I just feel like once you get out of the first round, there's not much left for running back other than Taylor and Jacobs. And Jacobs reported to camp. Taylor is going to be in Miami tomorrow. So, actually, that might be good, though. Oh, just go Tyreek and Taylor and have double up on the Dolphins.
Taylor to Miami is going to explode drafts that have already happened. Because if you took Tyreek early and if you took Waddle early and they pick up Taylor, it's going to kill their value. I mean, obviously, they're still going to be monsters. Like, I'm not saying they're not. But Taylor on Miami significantly alters their fantasy value.
I think it really moves Jonathan Taylor back into the first round.
Oh, well, yeah, because that value, they're losing value, and it's going to Jonathan Taylor, who's coming back up in value.
CMC, you can get the best of both, running back and wide receiver. So the draft I was in the other night, first overall, the guy took Eckler, which was a complete, he just liked Eckler, and he knew that if he didn't take him there, he was not going to get him. So sometimes you got to reach for the player that you really have confidence in. It's not a super reach because Eckler is typically the fourth by consensus. So to take him first because you know that's your only chance to get him. I'm sure he would have liked to have traded back. to like 3 or 4, maybe even 5 and get him. And just like my brother traded up to 6 because he wanted to guarantee himself Bijan Robinson. And Bijan Robinson tends to go around 7, 8, 9 maybe. And my brother drew 9 and traded up to 6 because I was drafting 8. And my brother knew that sitting at 8, that I'm sitting on a running back. And if Bijan Robinson is there at 8, that's who I take. So he traded up. And then I took Pollard, which sucks because sometimes sitting there, you take Pollard and then Lamb makes it back to you. And you're like, shit, the best wide receiver on the board is on the same team that I just took a running back from.
Oh, that's all right.
I don't like that. I don't mind stacking a good quarterback with a good receiver, but I don't like running backs and wide receivers on the same team for some reason because they both can't score on the same touchdown.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know it's worked in the past. If you had Antonio Gates and LaDainian Tomlinson on the same team, you were great. But that's Gates is a tight end, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
All right, tell me when to stop mixing it. I'm going to pull the name out.
Please
don't pull my name.
Pull one.
Please don't pull my name. All right, guys. You know that I shook those up. I wasn't looking. Jay Giuliani, first pick of the 2023 Fantasy Content Creator Draft goes to JG. Jay, if you're watching, you have pick number 1.
Trigger finger. I moved off of Evan Ingram in my Dynasty League because, I feel like he's not going to repeat.
Where do you have? Over here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was inconsistent last year. You look at his numbers.
He was good last year. He was a very good tight end last year.
Yeah, but I think if you look at his final stat line, a lot of his numbers came in the same game. Like, there was a monster. He had 4 total touchdowns on the season, right?
I mean, like, if you told me your tight end's going to get 0 points every game except for 6 weeks where he's going to score 25, I'll take that. I'll take those are 6 weeks I'm going to win, baby. Give me those weeks.
Yeah, but I don't know if he was like that, boom or bust. I just feel like he had 4 touchdowns, which isn't a lot. I mean, where you're drafting him at, you can't really call him a bust. It says Evan Ingram being a huge bust this year, but if you're taking Evan Ingram as tight end 8 or 9, which is where he's going, that's fair, right?
73 receptions and almost 800 yards. I mean, yeah, it's only 4 touchdowns, but in a PPR league, that dude scored a lot of points.
Well, didn't he have one game last year where he was close to 200 yards in that game?
He definitely had a big game. I remember because
it was down the stretch. Because my friend at work had him and Trevor Lawrence. I was sitting in there like just basking in it.
Yeah, I actually think it might have been like the second to last week of fantasy because I think he won me that. Like I would have lost without that.
Yeah, it was close to the end of the season. It was close to the end.
All right, let's pull the second name. I'll look up the
game log. These guys are talking about Darren Waller, who I took Darren Waller as my tight end in my first draft that I had this year. Let's see what AP says real quick. He says, I think I want to pick top 7, CMC, JJ, Cup, Chase, Kelsey, Bijan, then someone. That'll be a question I have for you after I pick this. Because a lot of people have different strategies on this, so I'll ask you. I got one. Ken from Sports Cards Lessons is pick number deuce.
Yeah. I think you just want me to talk to Ben's point because I have an opinion on it. So AP, sorry, AP. Yeah, that's Ben.
Yeah, you can talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ben. I mean, I agree with you, Ben. That's why I said I didn't want to be 8 to 10. Well, I wouldn't mind 8, but I don't want to be 9 to 11 necessarily because I just feel like there's a top 8 guys, and I feel like there's a little bit of separations.
Yeah, they fall off.
Yeah,
that's why the second round value I don't like at the back end of the second round. I feel like once Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra are gone, that second round value really falls off, in my opinion, there if you don't have a receiver.
You're going to have guys do some stuff that doesn't make sense in the draft.
They always do.
Jeff is probably going to take Bo Bichette of the New York Jets in the second round. And that's
I thought he was taking Tim Tebow. I thought he was taking Tim Tebow to quarterback tight end. spot. But okay, so talking about things where people kind of do odd things, just a quick question because he mentioned Kelsey there. Are you the kind of person that likes to take a Kelsey in the first round and just be like, okay, set it and forget it at tight end? Do you like to take a quarterback in the second or third? Because some people, there's a lot of people are like, okay, I'm taking a quarterback in the second or third. And then you got people that are like, I'll take whatever quarterback is left in the 7th or 8th round.
I'm pretty anti tight end or quarterback the first 3 rounds mostly.
Mhm.
In fact, I've never really done it, but I'm prepared to do
Right.
it in this draft.
Yeah. Like if I don't get Kelsey, then I really don't care about my tight end. Tight end, I'm drafting around round 6 or 7. The best one's still there. With quarterback, and really, you got to take Kelsey in the first round, and you got to get him before somebody else does. Then but with quarterback this year, my philosophy is a little bit more. I've always been the kind of person that'll wait on my quarterback. I really want one of the top 3 to 5 quarterbacks this year.
That's so weird. I'm the same way. I've always been, I'll take whoever at
know.
the end. And then this year, I'm like, Hurts, Allen, Burrow, or not Burrow, but Mahomes. Second round. Like, if I'm back half of the second round, I'm going to be looking at those guys.
Yeah. I mean, in the 3rd round of my last draft, I took Hurts. Allen was gone. Mahomes was gone. So I did take Hurts because I just wanted a top 3 quarterback. I've never really used that strategy. And I won my league championship last year drafting Russell Wilson super late. My saving grace was getting Justin Fields off the waiver wire.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Because I was streaming quarterbacks and I was struggling. I was 2-2. I was 2-3, 1-4. I was winning a game, losing 2 games, winning 2 games. And I just couldn't get over the hump. And then once I got the quarterback, it was my saving grace anyway.
Steve, do they at work? Do you cut promos for the casino?
No.
You're just building up so much suspense to each pick. I didn't know if they had.
Oh, we talk a lot of shit to each other at the casino because we all work together. So we're all there on the casino floor. So we talk a lot of smack face to face there.
Yeah.
Neo's always like, if this was a real draft, it'd be an auction.
Neo just likes to say shit. He doesn't know how to draft.
Yeah, I know. Mark Andrews always gets targets. Steve is building up the suspense breach name to be picked. All right. Pick number 3. Pick number 3. Please don't be me. I don't want to be this early. Sports Card Matrix. Sports Card Matrix.
All right, Matrix.
Pick number 3. If Matrix is still in the chat, you are pick number 3. Go mock draft away. Deontay Johnson is somebody that I am really not very high on. I would rather take George Pickens at the ADP, and I just don't know how much of a big-time prolific passing team the Steelers are going to be. Could be wrong, but to me, I'm not trusting Kenny Pickett and that offense to be highly explosive to where they can support Deontay Johnson and George Pickens. And honestly, if I was stuck with any player from that team, it'd be Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, I kind of
feel the
same way. Yeah.
Dalton Schultz is not even getting starter snaps in Houston. I don't know.
He is getting. I don't know what Trigger's talking about. I should just go along with it.
Tune in 2024 when we find out the draft order. All right. Matrix says he'll take the 3rd pick. All right. We're picking the 4th pick now. Oh, it's me.
Aha.
I don't want pick 4, man. Ugh. It's gross. Drafting a 2nd-round QB is a good way to lose in the championship. He'll be a good team, but the guy who gets QB3 in round 9 will win the league. I don't know how many QB3s you're getting in round 9.
I mean, you got Fields off the waiver wire.
Yeah, but that's like finding a diamond in the rough. Like, that doesn't happen. He wasn't even drafted. That's what I'm saying. If you're drafting somebody, then they're already expected to be a player.
This is for pick number 5.
Pick 5. Michael Ham can't fish. No, I got Michael Ham picking on the backside of me now. That's gravy because he doesn't know what he's doing.
Ben, I don't know the answer, AP. I don't know where Hurts was slotted last year or Lamar 2-3 years back, but I can't imagine they were that low because, I mean, those are guys who are going to run the ball and were expected to. And, I mean, those guys do well in fantasy.
Yeah. I don't think there was any quarterbacks going really high last year except for Mahomes. You know, I feel like there's more quarterbacks in the top 5 rounds this year than there was in a long time for me. But that's the whole landscape of fantasy is changing. I feel like there's more wide receivers in the first round than there ever has been. It's always been picks 1 through 12 or at least 1 through 10. I got to take a stud running back. I got to take the best running back on the board all the way through pick 10, and then you might go receiver. And usually somebody at the 12, 13 turn might go receiver, something crazy. But I feel like it's a wide receiver driven draft. Look, Jefferson's first overall. Chase is arguably 2 or 3. Kupp is falling a little bit, but Tyreek Hill's top 5. You got another pass catcher in Kelsey. I mean, I feel like more pass catchers are going in the first, not just the first round, but the first 2 rounds, first 1 through 3 rounds, more so than any other years that I've played fantasy. And I go all the way back to when fantasy was, you had to keep score with the newspaper. Somebody had to get the newspaper the next day and count the stats up.
Yeah,
you didn't know who won until like Wednesday.
Yeah, a lot of running backs scoring around the same, kind of like tight ends, so their value drops a little bit. And
and running backs run into more injuries. There's less. It's becoming a passing league. PPR plays into it. You know, standard leagues, it's still your running backs because they're going to get the touchdown and goal line carries. And you have less. You have less every down running backs, right? Yeah. Now you have so many committees.
All right, let's go. Spot number 6.
Spot number 6. PF Dizzle.
All right, Dustin at 6.
So either Alvin Kamara or Derek Carr are going 6th overall. Kick them off the board.
Whichever one's still available, I'm sure.
Maybe Chris Olave. That's a receiver we haven't mentioned yet.
That's true.
Let's see. Don't draft any Eagles running backs, Triggerfinger says. Pick number lucky 7.
It's certainly a question mark there, Triggerfinger. I definitely agree.
Sports card therapist is 7.
Sports card therapist at 7.
We eventually got to get to you there, Dakota, man. You're falling down the draft board here.
Yeah, you and me going to end up making that trade.
We might. All right, let's see. We'll pull up a comment while I pull this next one. So, Talatiga Ulafale. Did I say that right? I remember Tally's always been in the comments. Always been around since my old live streams. Hopefully you guys all keep the short promo video trash talking each other during the season. Super entertaining. And that was one thing that I sold some of the guys on in the fantasy league. I was like, look, you guys get into this. It's for a good cause. Send somebody to the national and you'll get content out of it. Even if you just cut a YouTube short, a 1-minute YouTube short, cutting a promo or something. Or if you talk about what happened wake up Tuesday and put out a video saying, hey, this is who won and who lost this week. This is what happened in the games. Show the scores, almost like a sports reporter or ESPN or something. You know, you could get easy videos out of that type of stuff. I know I'll be doing it. I'm going to be talking some smack. It's going to be fun. Like you said, I think it's fun and entertaining. I laughed my ass off at Dustin and Neo's videos today. I was watching Neo's and I was walking through the executive office building in the casino and I stopped at the little thing to get water and I started drinking water. He said something about Michael Ham hunting or fishing. And then he said hunting and I heard hunting. And man, I fucking spit that water all out over the place. It was all on my nose and stuff. I was like, damn, you do that to me. Neo. Speaking of Neo, that's
Son
pick
of a gun.
8. Is
Yeah,
that
it's
pick 8? Dakota,
That's
don't
8.
tell me you're going to get the 12-13 turn. Do you
I don't know how
like
crazy
12?
I am about 12, 13. I haven't done any drafts at that position,
Right.
so I don't know what it looks like.
Some people really like 12 because they love that back-to-back pick there. It makes their decisions easy. Because if you're sitting at 12 and you can't decide who you want, basically you're like, well, I get them both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're trying to decide between, but then you got to wait forever for your next pick to come around.
Yep. You take a nap between picks.
Was that 8 or 9?
That was 8.
So this is 9. Chris Sewell, sports card collector, investor, dealer, collector, dealer, investor. Man, Dakota, it's going rough for you now, man.
Yeah.
You're even falling out of the area to where I want to trade from.
Yeah, we've passed the point of no return at this point.
Who's left? Jeff Wilson, Dakota,
Ziggy.
Ziggy. Is that the only 3? So we got 9. So that's the only 3.
Yeah.
So pick 10 is Ziggy.
Oh boy.
All right, man. So who you taking at 12?
I think CeeDee Lamb might still be there. That might be the.
Oh, he might. He just might.
Dude, it's so daggum hot down here. Y'all would not believe. It's crazy, man. It is wild.
So this is going to be picks 11 and 12. So pick 11, and then whoever's left is 12. Oh, and you get 11.
All right.
So you get 11. Jeff Wilson gets 12, guys. Hello, pick 12.
Yeah. I don't know which is better. We'll see, I guess. But yeah, all right. So there we go. There's our draft order.
So there's a draft order. I'll post it in the Instagram chat so everybody who isn't watching can see. Jay Giuliana, number 1. Ken Sports Card Lessons, number 2. Sports Card Matrix, number 3. Me, number 4, which I'm really not that happy with. The ham bone is number 5. Dustin, 6. Therapist, 7. Neo, 8. Chris Soul, 9. Ziggy, 10. Dakota, 11. Jeff Wilson is picking 12th. We did not save the best for last. I am sure he will be able to get Tim Tebow and Will Greer at the 12-13 turn.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be good. That's going to be good for him. Solid tight end quarterback combo right there in the first and second round.
Or Desmond Ritter.
Oh, he might take Ritter.
All right, so we have picked the names. We're an hour 30 in. I know you're ready to go. I'm pretty sure you're ready to go. It's been a while. You live streamed before this. It's always good getting back on here. We could, honestly, I'm sure we could sit and talk forever, but time is of the essence. It is late here. Also, it's midnight. We did what we had to do. The draft order is set. Going to go do some mock drafts, and I'll be talking to you again tomorrow night. Everybody in the chat, come back to Off-Centered tomorrow night, or find your favorite content creator that's in this, or whoever you want to watch. Because there may be separate live streams, but our draft will be streaming tomorrow night on Off-Centered. I know for sure myself, Dustin, and Nia will be Off-Centered. We will have people backstage, and we'll be bringing them on for their picks, for their draft talk, to give, how they feel, how the draft's going, things like that. But people also may be live streaming on their own channels the draft as well. So you might be able to watch the draft across multiple different channels. Not the exact same live stream, because you can live stream the same live stream on your channel, but I think actual separate live streams. So just check out one of them. Make sure you check out the draft and follow it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. We're doing this because it's going to be fun. It's a good cause. We're going to get some content out of it that we hope that you guys can find funny, laugh at, poke fun at us. I always, I said I'm going into this the heel. I'm cutting a lot of trash talking promos. I'm saying that I'm the best. I'm saying that I'm the champ, which means I'm going to be the person everybody wants to root against. So, in fact, let's check that poll before we go one last time. Dakota being the fan favorite.
While you're pulling up the poll, chat, let me make this easy for you.
Just so go watch. John Cena. You're the
off
John
centered with
Cena of the
Dustin
league.
tomorrow.
57 votes now. Oh, look, I've taken the lead. I'm 32% in first, and you're 25%. Dustin's up to 9%. He's almost got double digits. Neo's got 19. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the support. I knew it. I knew you guys liked me. Anyway, thanks for viewing the live stream, guys. We're going to cut it short. Dakota's got to go. I got to go. Trigger Figure says it sounds like a boring league, but he will be tuning in every week. You can bet on that. All right, guys. Take it easy. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Cheers.
Have a good day tomorrow.